Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoteric and their continuing series, the Unported playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. Today we're taking a look at SAR, Search and Rescue by SNK. And this is running on the pre-MVS and AES hardware that they developed with a Motorola 68000 processor. So it does share some components with the Neo Geo, and it does have that Neo Geo look to it. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell. It definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link in the description below as well. Now, SAR has nothing to do with the Beastbusters franchise, but it kind of feels like a companion game to it, because SNK, with their arcade games, love delivering violence. The original Beastbusters, Beastbusters Second Nightmare, I have videos of both of those on the channel already, and I'll link them below. They are violent arcade games. You get blood, you get guts, you get gore, and intestines and spines and popping heads, and SAR has the exact same thing. When you blow a zombie up, his guts just absolutely shred apart. Now they tried to tone it down a little bit because they are pink, but it's still a relatively graphic game, and I always love that SNK went that extra mile to make things a little bit more violent than you're used to seeing, because you'll see those people up against the wall there are just covered in actual red colored blood. So the gameplay mechanic of this is it's basically an 8-directional shooter, and you can aim in any of 8 directions. It's relatively easy to get by with just pointing forward, and honestly, half the game I am doing just that, because in a lot of instances, like right here, you can just run past the enemy to get further into the game. It's an interesting mechanic where sometimes avoidance is the way to go, because I will say that this game is tough as nails. It is going to cost you a lot of credits to be able to see the ending if you're actually putting quarters into this. Obviously we're not, but if I counted and each credit cost me 50 cents, I probably spent like $30-$35 to actually see the ending of this game for the capture and for the long play. So if you were in arcades and playing this, it would cost you a lot of money. Thankfully, that's not what we're doing. So we get to have all the fun without any of the financial commitment, because I will say that this game is a ton of fun. And of course you can play in 2-player mode. I don't have a second person for these captures, so it is just me. But with a friend, this is even better. Unless you dive directly into the hand trying to attack you, that was just a stupid move. It's really unfortunate this game was never ported. It would have been great as one of the first games on the Neo Geo AES for home consoles. I mean, I get it, SNK was going for a certain vibe with those first round of games, and of course the AES and MVS did perform and look better than the hardware that this is on, but I feel like for an intro game, maybe they could have just bumped up the sprite sizes a little bit, because I would love to have this as an AES copy. Because I will say, I have tried to find a copy of Search and Rescue to buy, and I haven't seen one for sale in the last year. Only one on eBay sold, and it sold for $60, and whoever bought it got an incredible deal, because it was sold with errors, but the error on screen is just bad sprite palette RAM. And that would easily be desoldered and fixed in about 20 minutes by a steady hand, and I am very disappointed I didn't see that, because for $60 it would have been an absolute steal. Because this is a game I 100% want to include in my collection and library, and one day hopefully I get the option to do that. Like I said earlier, this game is extremely hard. You'll see the floors now falling out from underneath me, and I am losing a lot of lives. Enemies give you knockback. One bullet, one touch, that's one life. You get a decent amount of lives per credit, because the game definitely knows it's hard, but you're still going to be using them up with wild abandon. But I love the music in this game, I love the graphics, I love the gameplay, but it's kind of just the visual overall look of this game. It's dark, it's gritty, it's violent, it's telling a story. We're going further and further down in this facility, and you even get these elevator levels with faux scrolling as those lights come up, and you have all those zombies coming up over the edges trying to attack you. And like I said earlier, this may have nothing to do with Beastbusters, the franchise, but it definitely feels like it to me. And I love that SNK on occasion did horror games, because it wasn't one of their big genres, but when they did them extremely well. But the game looks great, it plays great, and it also sounds great. So go ahead and enjoy some of the audio for about 45 seconds to a minute, and I'll come back and tell you more about why, if you've never heard of this game before, you have now and you have to play. But be right back. The soundtrack's really effective, and it kind of sounds like something that would be in a John Carpenter movie like The Thing or Escape from New York, and while it's pretty subdued and it's just there, I do like what it's doing. But now that we're getting into another boss fight, you're going to see just how difficult they are. But you can also see how this hardware isn't quite up to that Neo Geo spec, because for a boss, it's not very big as a design or a sprite, and some of the enemies we've been facing in the actual game are a little bit more interesting and impressive. So as far as the bosses are concerned, they might be one of the areas of the game that I feel are slightly a letdown, because we've been seeing awesome zombies and giant aliens and other exploding entities, and now for a boss fight we just have this tank which kind of looks like a B character from Contra. It's a little bit of a bummer that the bosses aren't more fun, and they do get a little bit better as the game goes on, but honestly, I would say that if a SAR has a weak point, it would be the boss encounters. But I do love all those bodies on the floor that have been crushed by the tracks as it's gone over from previous combatants. Because you see here, after that tank, we have all these zombies running down the hallway. There's a spine severed that's dripping blood. That's way more effective of a graphical design than that boss. Like I said, the bosses aren't the best. Mechanically, they're fun fights. They're just not that visually interesting to look at. But something like this corridor here with all these zombies running at you, some of them holding guns and grenades in their hand and flashing when they're about ready to blow up, that is a ton of fun, and that's why I do think that this game is kind of an unofficial companion game to Beastbusters, because in both Beastbusters and Second Nightmare, zombies with their spines hanging out and dangling appear in both of those games, and it's really emphasized. So I'm almost wondering if this was supposed to be a Beastbusters game, or if this was something designed before Beastbusters became a thing, because it has a lot of similar vibes and feelings to it, and these creepy crabs. I love that you can die in the elevator and get thrown off to the side into the hallway. It's a nice little touch. But yeah, that is SAR, or Search or Rescue. It's one of those games that Neo Geo made right before the AES and MVS came out, because they did have arcade games before that platform. They're most famously known, obviously, for the MVS, but they made arcade boards and games that were quite good before that. But leave me a comment down below. Have you ever heard of or played SAR, Search and Rescue? Is it something you want to play after this? If you ever see a board for sale and you don't want it, leave me a comment down below, and I do read them, and I will probably pick it up, because it's one of those games I would love to add to my collection. Like I mentioned with boss battles, it's a two-headed snake. It's okay, but the zombies blowing up are way more fun, and don't make the mistake I did and jump into the pit, because you just lose a life. Short of that, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like, subscribe, and that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. We'll be back with all new videos throughout the week. Bye-bye.